probably the team with the most passionate fan base in the IPL, the Korbo Lorbo Jeetbo Brigade.
Yeah.
Um, you're obviously talking about the Kolkata Knight Riders, and again, uh, they've had a couple of interesting years with in I think in the 2018 auction they let go of Gambhir, they brought in Dinesh Karthik, he's been captain for a couple of years. They reached the playoffs one year. Last year, I think they missed out on the playoffs. They're quite close. I think they finished fifth in the tournament. Um, it's going to be quite interesting to see. Again, this is a squad. If you look at the squad, I think it was a squad designed for Eden Gardens, which in recent years has put out a very fast, bouncy pitch. So they've actually flourished with a strong contingent of fast bowlers, both Indian and overseas. And if you look at the squad that they have, it was heavily designed to play all 7 home games at Eden Gardens. That plan has obviously now been, shot by the current COVID pandemic. So now they've got to try and adapt the existing squad to play on the slower, low pitches in the UAE. That said, they've still got some very high quality batsmen. They've got Shubman Gill, who's really itching to go this year. I think he was very disappointed not to have made the last Indian squad to New Zealand. They've got Dinesh Karthik, who's an excellent T20 player. Really, he's come of age as a batsman in the last 2-3 years. Andre Russell, I don't think I need to say a lot about him. He was MVP
MVP.
last year. MVP can takes the pitch out of the equation, takes the bowlers out of the equation. He can single-handedly win you matches. They've
Not to
gone for
forget his bowling skills.
his bowling skills, which, well, I don't know how much he's actually going to bowl this year. If I look at, I watched him play a bit in the CPL, and I think he's had some trouble with his knees. So maybe he was managing his knee condition so that he can bowl less in the CPL and more in the IPL. But yeah, I think. If it comes to a choice, I think probably Kolkata might sacrifice Russell the bowler for Russell the batsman. Is my guess. They've made a very. I think they've probably got one of the buys of the auction last year with Evan Morgan, and I think he brings some. He's coming on the back of some incredible form for England, and I think he also brings tremendous leadership skills. He has a great rapport with Brendan McCullum, who's the coach for Knight Riders. And I think that's really, again, a quality pick. I think Morgan has struggled in previous editions, but I back him to come good this year, and I think I back him to make some runs. And I think he also adds much needed, leadership support for
Yeah.
Dinesh Karthik.
Invaluable. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think my take on KKR is, whatever batting order you choose, please put Shubman Gill out to open, and I think he should just play the anchor role and let all the other stroke makers play around him and look to bat as deep as possible in every innings. Um, and then moving on, I think they've got some excellent fast bowling options, both overseas and Indian contingent. So if you look at, so they've got Pat Cummins, they've got Lockie Ferguson as two quality overseas fast bowlers. And then they've got a whole Indian contingent. They've got Shivam Mavi, Kamlesh Nagarkoti, they've got Prasidh Krishna,
Yeah.
they've got Sandeep Warrior. I get the feeling that they could probably loan a couple of them to the other teams just so they get the playing time. But
Yeah.
it would have been really interesting if they would have
Yeah.
if they played in India, because all the fast bowlers, especially Mavi and Nagarkoti, who missed last year's edition, they are actually fit. Um,
Yeah.
so it's going to be
Yeah,
interesting to see.
we've heard a lot, we've seen a lot in the previous under 19 World Cup. We've seen what they're capable of, and it was very unfortunate to not see them actually move on from there and see move on to the next level and see perform at the big stage. So
Yeah,
I think this is their opportunity,
indeed.
and yeah, yeah. Pat
Let, let,
Cummins must be breathing easy actually after having gone for the highest money in the auction, to see that the IPL was being called off. So it's probably he must have actually booked his tickets first to the UAE, seeing that the tournament actually is scheduled now after all. So yeah, very useful cricketer, very among the best bowlers going around right now, certainly. So
Indeed. I,
indeed,
Yeah, I think if there's one area where I think KKR have a major drawback, and again, this is probably a factor of their squad being heavily designed around playing at Eden Gardens, is that they're lacking a bit on spin. So you've got Kuldeep Yadav is probably going to be their main spinner. He had a tough 2019 IPL. He's had a sort of up and down last 12-18 months with the national team as well. So, but he's going to be the lead spinner this year. Again, a lovely bowler to watch, and the pitches should
When in
definitely
full
aid
flight,
him.
yes.
Indeed, pun intended, I suppose. To support Kuldeep, we also have Sunil Narayan. Now, obviously, we know that Sunil is not the same bowler that he was a few years ago. He's developed into a more all-round package with his hard-hitting batting. But if you solely look at him as a bowler, as a spinner, yes, he'll give you those 4 overs. But is he going to have the same? I don't think batsmen fear him anymore. A few years ago, you had those 4 overs in the bank. You knew that they were not going to be, batsmen were not going to take their chances against him. They just looked to play him out, and try and score off the other bowlers. Which is when I think Kolkata won 2 out of 3 IPLs under Gautam Gambhir. But ever since he's had his action remodeled, he's not had the same sort of impact. That's not to say that he's any less challenging as a bowler, but I
Oh
just think
no, the repetition certainly matters. Yes.
it does. It does. I just think that if there's an injury to either Kuldeep or Sunil Narayan, then you're probably looking at you don't have a third bowler. If I'm not wrong, I think Sunil Narayan actually missed the final of the CPL due to injury. So I don't know what his status is. I don't know if he's fit to play. So I think given where they're playing, I think they're sort of light on spin. They don't have any of the other bowlers, some of the other slow medium bowlers that other teams have, who can just
Yeah,
run
there's
in
no
and
cutters or anyone.
bowl those
Yeah.
cutters. Exactly. So I think that's probably an area where they struggle. But you never know. Maybe the place contingent that they've got, maybe Mavi and Nagarkoti, if they get to play, they probably just take the pitches out of the equation and just beat the batsman in the air with sheer pace. You never know. So
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
yeah,
What's your
and
take on Sunil Narayan as an opener? And they probably tried him out for one or two occasions, but he actually succeeded consistently, and so much so that he actually started featuring as a penned-in opener for most of the pundits.
Indeed, I think it was a reinvention that no one saw coming, and I think he's really surprised a lot of viewers over the past 2-3 years. Um, uh, that said, I think he's someone who generally prefers pace on the ball. Not that
Absolutely. Yeah.
not that he's not tonk spinners around, but I think he's generally someone who prefers more pace on the ball. So it's going to be interesting to see how he fares in the UAE. Um, I would probably still stick him in the opening position because that's probably where they get the most value out of him. But I probably see him not having as successful a season, as compared to what he would have had if he played in Kolkata. So I think that's probably why you get
Did you
Gill
did you forget mentioning Tom Banton on purpose?
uh, after his recent struggles against spinners coming in the middle overs, and the fact that this is going to be played in the UAE. Banton might get a couple of games, but I really think he's got some way to go, developing his game against spin before he features consistently as a first choice overseas pick in an IPL team. Has
Yeah,
he been
but
playing in
lot of
Kolkata?
talent to offer nevertheless. So he's
Absolutely,
someone
absolutely.
certainly to look forward to. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think if they were playing in Kolkata, I think they would have probably played him and Gill as the first choice openers. Um, uh, but I think given the fact that it's happening in the UAE, he's probably a replacement for Morgan if Morgan has an injury.
Oh,
Is the way I see that playing.
yeah.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to watching Shubman Gill this year. I've not watched him bat as much as I'd like to in the previous seasons, and I really hope this is his season. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and
Great.
I
Great. Your bets are not misplaced. I can tell you that. Yeah.
well, fingers crossed, and let's hope for his sake and for the Indian team's sake. I think he has a fabulous year and sort of pushes on for higher honors.